Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something pretty specific. A stack of sources from just one gardener's log, Notes on Gardening, Part 713.
Hmm.
And this isn't about, basic watering schedules or anything. We're looking at the unexpected challenges, the micro drama, I guess, of growing stuff.
That's right.
Specifically, why one particular herb, a really common one, can suddenly become so tricky when you just try to change its color.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission here is to look at this as a case study in persistence, maybe, using basil as our example.
Okay.
We're tracing this journey, starting from real success, then hitting this very specific frustrating problem, and then pivoting to a completely different kind of win. A slightly messy one, maybe.
Right. So the starting point, the baseline for this gardener, it was actually pretty high, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
They'd really got the hang of the basics. The notes say they consistently grew, like, numerous successful batches of common basil from seed.
Grown from mature plants they already had.
Right. So they knew the method, had the right soil, the light. Everything seemed solid.
Total confidence with standard green stuff.
Yeah.
But, as soon as they tried to introduce just a little variation,
Everything changed?
pretty much, yeah. The notes immediately jump into this persistent failure.
Yeah.
They just could not get purple basil to grow successfully.
And it wasn't just a one-off try, was it?
Yeah, no, this was repeated attempts. They even sourced seeds from different places, different vendors. Still nothing. Dead end.
That's fascinating, that resistance. I mean, they had the formula for basil, right? Yet just changing the color, the pigments, seemed to completely jam the works. You could almost argue maybe after the third failure, just move on.
Well, yeah,
Why keep banging your head against that purple basil wall?
I think it speaks to that that curiosity,
Yeah.
the technical curiosity that drives real experimentation.
Oh, okay.
They clearly felt they needed to know why. Why wouldn't the techniques that work perfectly for the common green basil work for this purple one? It really teaches us, and probably taught them, that success with one type, one cultivar, doesn't just automatically mean success with a sister variety, even if they seem really similar.
So purple basil just has, what, different needs?
They must have. Maybe a germination sensitivity or needs slightly different conditions, something the gardener just wasn't providing at that time. The challenge was definitely technical,
Yeah.
not about lack of trying.
Okay. And that technical wall, that frustration, that's what forced the change in direction.
Precisely, yeah. Those continuous setbacks, those learned lessons maybe, they eventually led the gardener to sort of give up on the purple dream for a bit
And explore something else.
and explore something else, a totally different cultivar. The classic sweet basil. And this is where the story takes a sharp turn.
Because they actually had some success.
Yes. The notes really shift tone here. They celebrate a breakthrough, the successful germination of sweet basil. Finally,
Victory.
they got that crucial first step right after all those failures with the purple. But you know how it goes in gardening? Success often comes with a side of, well, chaos, or at least complication.
Okay, what happened?
Well, this is where the gardener's observation skills really had to kick in. They note that the little plastic label, the stake that would have instantly confirmed, yep, this is sweet basil,
Let me guess.
it vanished.
Washed away. Rainstorm. Gone.
Oh, typical. So suddenly, the proof of their successful pivot, it's just gone, washed away.
It's like the perfect real-world test, isn't it? You lose the documentation, the label. You have to rely completely on the thing itself.
Right. You got to use your eyes.
Exactly. The source material kind of forces the gardener and us reading it to switch gears from just trusting a label to trusting pure botanical observation. What does the plant look like?
And this is probably the most valuable bit in these notes, right? The identification part.
I think so.
How, without that label, did they actually know these little sprouts were sweet basil? It all came down to the leaves, specifically the true leaves. Yeah, the visual signature of sweet basil, according to these notes, is really clear, unambiguous. It has these characteristic, broad, ovate, and rounded true leaves.
Broad, ovate, and rounded. Okay.
That specific shape, the sort of fullness, the soft edges, that's the key identifier for this variety, even when it's quite young.
Okay, let's really focus on that for a second. That description, broad, ovate, rounded, because that's crucial, right?
Absolutely essential.
Especially when you compare it to what the gardener have been struggling with before, the failed varieties. The notes make a really sharp contrast here. They mention that the unsuccessful plants, the ones that didn't make it, often had pointed and elongated foliage.
And that contrast is just It's everything for identification. If you're looking at seedlings, you're basically playing a game of pattern recognition.
Right. Pointy versus rounded.
Exactly. The visual difference between that soft, round, kind of full leaf shape and a sharp, pointy, stretched out one,
Yeah.
it gives you instant high confidence ID.
So the roundness confirmed the sweet basil success.
Yep. And looking back, it probably helped explain why those other pointy leaf varieties failed under the same conditions. They just looked fundamentally different.
Huh. It's like a knowledge game that came directly out of, well, losing a label, failure leading to understanding.
You got it. Rain washed away the tag, but it kind of cemented the knowledge, didn't it?
Yeah. That practical understanding of the plant's shape, its morphology, they don't need the label anymore to know what they grew.
Exactly. They've leveled up, really, moved beyond just following instructions to like practical botany. The technical challenge of getting it to sprout was solved, and then the identity challenge was solved by just looking closely.
Okay, but the notes don't just end there on a triumphant note, do they?
No, they don't.
Despite the success, getting the sweet basil to grow, identifying it correctly, the gardener throws in this very honest, very human critique.
An aesthetic critique. It's a really wonderful bit of self-reflection in the notes.
They have reservations about how it looks or how it will look.
Exactly. The victory is technical. I got it to grow.
Yeah.
But the visual satisfaction, whether they'll actually like the plant, that's still up in the air.
And the notes get specific about what they don't like, right?
Mm-hmm. They mention seeing mature sweet basil, maybe in grocery stores or other gardens.
Okay.
And they note its tendency to form this dense, soft, flowing canopy of leaves. That's the description used.
Dense, soft, flowing canopy. It doesn't sound so bad.
Well, it seems this gardener prefers maybe a different look for their herbs, something more upright, perhaps, more architecturally defined. The soft flowing canopy wasn't quite their style, apparently.
Huh. Okay. So it reminds us that, putting in the effort and liking the outcome are two totally different things.
Absolutely. They fought hard for this win, this germination success.
Okay.
But now that they have it, they're not entirely sold on the final product's appearance.
The success is kind of conditional.
It feels that way. They completed the task, check, but they might not love the result.
Which brings us to the very end of these notes, this sort of open question they leave hanging.
Despite having these aesthetic doubts, the gardener writes that they are still really interested, curious maybe, to see how this particular batch, their homegrown one, unfolds in the coming months.
Yeah. There's anticipation there.
It's like they're hoping maybe their version won't have that dense, soft canopy look they dislike from the store-bought ones.
That anticipation really captures the whole journey, I think. It moves beyond just solving a technical problem like germination or identification
Right.
to managing personal expectations. They solved the broad ovate leaf puzzle. But now they're waiting to see if the overall plant shape, the aesthetic, will match what they actually want.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the journey we traced in these gardening notes. We started with established comfort, success with common basil,
Yep, easy straight.
then slammed into this frustrating, relentless technical wall with purple basil. That was a key learned lesson about how different cultivars, even closely related ones, can do.
Definitely. Can't assume they're the same. That failure forced a pivot, leading to the successful germination of sweet basil. And crucially, this was confirmed not by a lost label, but by undeniable visual evidence. Those broad, ovate, and rounded true leaves, a key identification point, especially compared to the pointy leaves of the failures.
And the ultimate lesson there, really, is the value of looking past the label. Understanding the actual structure, the morphology of what you're working with. That knowledge gained under pressure because the tag was gone is way more valuable than just reading a seed packet.
Absolutely. But then, zooming out to the bigger picture, the successful gardener now faces this potential mismatch. They achieved the technical win, they put in the work.
Right.
But the aesthetic critique, that doubt about the dense, soft flowing canopy, it still lingers.
And this really raises an important question, I think, for you, the listener, to mull over as we wrap up. The gardener got the technical success they wanted, right? Germination achieved after a lot of effort. But then they expressed these specific aesthetic reservations about the mature plant. What happens when the successful result of your hard work isn't quite what you pictured, not exactly what you hoped it would look like? And how does that anticipation the gardener feels waiting for the plant to unfold, how does that maybe redefine what success even means in that context? Do you keep the technically perfect result even if you're not totally thrilled with how it looks? What's the real win there?